The sky above Elisara 4 was a soft blue that morning, the kind that made farmers smile and children run outside to play. The colony was small and peaceful. Rows of green fields stretched for kilometers, growing wheat, corn, and fruit trees that humans had brought from old Earth. People lived in low white houses with red roofs. There was one main town called Haven, with a school, a hospital, shops, and a big open square where families met on weekends. Elena Voss was the governor. She was 42 years old, with short brown hair and calm gray eyes. Everyone trusted her because she was fair and never raised her voice. She had come to Elisara 4 15 years earlier with her husband and 2 small sons. Now her sons were grown and worked the fields. Her husband had died 4 years ago from a fever, but Elena kept going. She loved this world. It felt like home. That day started like any other. Elena sat in her office drinking tea and reading reports about the harvest. The sun was warm through the window. Birds sang outside. Then her assistant, a young man named Raj, ran in without knocking. "Governor, ships in orbit. Unknown type. They just appeared on sensors." Elena stood up fast. "How many?" "6. Big ones. Not ours." She grabbed her coat and hurried to the control room. People were already there, staring at screens. The ships looked strange, long and sharp like black needles. They had no friendly signals, no human markings. A message came through on the main speaker. The voice was dry and clicking, like insects rubbing legs together. "This is High Caste Overseer Xafra of the Vexari Dominion. We claim survey rights over this system. You will allow full orbital scans and mineral extraction teams to land. Non-compliance will be seen as hostility." The room went quiet. Everyone looked at Elena. She took a deep breath and pressed the reply button. Her voice was steady. "This is Governor Elena Voss of Elisara 4. This is a settled human colony. We do not accept external claims. Our charter from Terra forbids it. You are welcome to trade or talk, but no scans and no mining without our agreement." Silence followed. Then the clicking voice returned, colder now. "Your charter means nothing to the Dominion. Lesser species do not dictate terms. You have 1 standard hour to open landing zones. After that, we take what we need." The channel closed. Elena turned to her team. "Send the distress beacon. Full power. Route it through every relay we have. Tell them what's happening, and get the children into the shelters, just in case." People moved quickly. Mothers called their kids from the fields. Teachers led classes down to the underground rooms. Farmers locked barns and hid tools. Everyone knew stories about first contact gone wrong. Humans had lost worlds before. No one wanted to repeat history. An hour passed. No more messages came from the Vexari. Then, without warning, bright lines of light stabbed down from the sky. The first strike hit the main power station on the hill. A white flash turned the building into fire and smoke. Lights across Haven went dark. People screamed. The second strike hit the water plant. Pipes burst. Clean water sprayed high like fountains before turning muddy. The third strike was the worst. The central medical hab sat in the middle of town. It was a long white building with big windows and a bright red cross on the roof. Inside, 37 children were getting checkups and shots. A mild fever had spread through the colony last month. The doctor wanted to make sure no one got worse. Parents waited in the hall with worried faces. Nurses smiled to keep the kids calm. The orbital lance came straight through the roof. The ceiling collapsed in seconds. Walls cracked. Dust and fire filled the air. Children screamed. Some were trapped under tables. Others crawled, crying for their mothers. Blood mixed with white dust on the floor. A little girl with braids lay still under a broken monitor. A boy of 6 held his arm, which bent the wrong way. The doctor, covered in cuts, tried to pull people free. Outside, parents ran toward the building. They shouted names. Leah, Tomas, Sarah. Some fell to their knees when they saw the smoke. Others pushed past soldiers to reach the doors. Elena arrived minutes later. She pushed through the crowd. Her face turned pale when she saw the damage. She grabbed a rescue worker. "How many kids?" 37 were inside, the man said in a shaking voice. "We don't know yet. At least 3 are gone. Many hurt bad." Elena felt sick. She walked closer. A mother sat on the ground, holding a small body that did not move. Tears ran down her face. Another father carried his daughter out. The girl's leg was twisted and bleeding. She whimpered softly. Above them, the Vexari ships stayed in orbit. No more strikes came. A new message played on every open channel. Primitives resisted lawful survey. Damage to your structures was necessary. Further defiance will bring full cleansing. The Dominion does not negotiate with fauna. The words echoed across the town. People looked up at the sky with hate in their eyes. Elena stood among the broken walls of the medical hab. Smoke stung her nose. She watched medics carry stretchers. She heard crying that would not stop. Her hands closed into fists so tight, her nails cut her palms. She turned to Raj, who had followed her. "Is the beacon sent?" "Yes, Governor. Full strength. It will reach the nearest fleet base in 3 weeks at best." 3 weeks, she repeated quietly. A young nurse ran up, face black with soot. "Governor, one of the girls is asking for you. She says her name is Mira. She's 6. Elena followed the nurse inside what was left of the building. They stepped over broken glass and wires. In a corner, under a fallen shelf, lay a small girl with dark hair and big frightened eyes. Her left arm was burned. A medic wrapped it gently. Mira saw Elena and reached out with her good hand. "Are the monsters gone?" Elena knelt beside her. She took the small hand. "Not yet, sweetheart. But we're here. You're safe now." Mira's lip trembled. "My brother was next to me. He's not moving." Elena swallowed hard. She stroked the girl's hair. "We'll take care of him. Rest now." She stood up slowly. Her eyes were dry, but something hard and cold had settled inside her chest. She looked at the sky again. The black needle ships still floated there, silent and sure of themselves. Elena walked back outside. The crowd had grown quiet. She climbed onto a broken wall so everyone could see her face. "Listen to me," she said. Her voice carried clear in the smoky air. "They hurt our children. They killed some of them. They think we are weak. They think we will beg or run." She paused. People waited. "We will not beg," she continued. "We will not run. We are human. We protect our own. The beacon is out. Help is coming. Until then, we hold. We heal our wounded. We bury our dead. And we remember." A low sound rose from the crowd. It was not cheering. It was something deeper, like a promise. Elena looked up one last time at the alien ships. She spoke softly, so only the people nearest her could hear. "You injured human children," she whispered. "You have no idea what you just started." The wind carried her words away, but every person who heard them felt the same cold certainty growing inside. The Vexari had made their move. Humanity would make the next one, and it would not be gentle. The message from Elisara 4 reached the first human relay station 3 days after the attack. It traveled through deep space on tight beam channels, jumping from one automated outpost to the next. When it finally hit the core networks, it exploded across every screen, every datapad, every public board in human space. People saw the footage first, raw, unedited clips from the colony's security cameras. A little boy with blood on his face, crying under fallen metal. A girl with burned arms reaching for her mother. Parents digging with bare hands through rubble while smoke rose around them. The sound of children screaming mixed with the crackle of fire. One clip showed a toddler being pulled from the ruins, his leg broken, his small body limp. The doctor's voice in the background. "We lost 3 already. More won't make it." The images spread faster than any official report. On crowded stations, in mining outposts, on crowded colony worlds, people stopped what they were doing. In bars, workers put down their drinks. In schools, teachers turned off lessons. Families gathered around screens in living rooms. Silence fell like a heavy blanket. Then, the anger came. On New Shanghai, a busy trade hub, crowds filled the streets. They carried signs with pictures of the injured children. Some signs said simply, "They hurt our kids." Others had the faces of the dead printed large. People shouted. Some cried. Police stood back and let them march. On the military academy at Vega Prime, cadets watched the footage in their dorms. A senior student, a tall girl with short black hair, slammed her fist on the table. "They targeted the hospital," she said. "They knew where the children were." Her voice shook. Around her, young men and women nodded. Their eyes were hard. In quiet farming communities on distant moons, old men who had fought in past wars sat on porches and stared at the sky. They did not speak much. They just remembered how humans had once almost lost everything. They remembered the promise they made to themselves, never again. For 3 full days, the galaxy heard nothing from humanity. No angry speeches from leaders, no fleet movements on public scanners, no demands sent to the Vexari. Just silence. The Vexari noticed the quiet. High Caste Overseer Kazathra sat in the command chamber of his flagship, the Razor's Edge. The room was dark, lit only by glowing screens and the soft blue light of caste crystals. His 8 legs rested on a raised platform. Lower caste officers moved around him, clicking softly. Reports came in steadily. Human channels had gone dark. Trade ships that usually crossed Vexari space had turned away. Diplomatic relays received no replies. Kazathra's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. "They grieve," he said to his second-in-command, a lean warrior named Vrixta. "Emotional species always do. They will come to terms soon. They have no choice." Vrixta tilted his head. Scans show unusual activity. Small ships moving toward jump points, not in formation, scattered. Kazathra waved a claw. "Scouts, merchants rerouting. Nothing more. Their main fleet is weeks away, even at best speed. By then, we will have taken the colony completely. We will hold their children as leverage if needed." He turned back to the main screen. It showed Elisara 4 below, smoke still rising from the ruined medical hab. "Primitives," he muttered. "They break so easily." On Elisara 4, life tried to go on. People worked in shifts to clear rubble. Medics set up tents outside the broken hospital. Wounded children lay on cots under blankets. Mothers sat beside them, holding small hands, whispering stories to keep fear away. Mira, the 6-year-old girl with the burned arm, asked every day when the monsters would leave. No one had a good answer. Elena Voss walked the camp every morning. She spoke to families. She helped carry supplies. She listened to parents who had lost sons and daughters. Her own eyes were red from lack of sleep, but her voice stayed calm. She refused to show weakness. One evening, she stood on a hill overlooking the town. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and red. Raj joined her. He carried a datapad. "More footage leaked," he said quietly. "Someone sent personal recordings from inside the hab. It's everywhere now." Elena nodded. "Good." Raj looked at her. "You wanted it out?" "I didn't stop it," she said. "The truth needs to be seen." They stood in silence for a while. Below them, lanterns glowed in the tents. Children's voices carried on the wind. soft laughter mixed with crying. How long until help arrives? 3 more weeks at the earliest, Raj answered, unless someone closer moves first. Elena looked up at the stars. The Vexari ships were bright points moving slowly in orbit. They think we're waiting, she said. They think silence means surrender. Raj followed her gaze. What if it doesn't? She did not answer right away. When she spoke, her voice was low and steady. Then they learn what humans do when you hurt our young. Far away, in the core systems of human space, things were already moving. On the heavy cruiser Indomitable, Captain Marcus Hale stood on the bridge. He was a big man with gray hair and a face full of old scars. The ship had been on patrol near the Orion Arm when the beacon arrived. Now the bridge was quiet. Every officer watched the main screen. The footage played again. No one spoke. All ships in range. 17 confirmed, she said. More signaling they're coming. No formal orders yet. Just movement. Hale nodded once. Good. He pressed a button on his console. His voice went out on a secure fleet channel. This is Hale. You've seen the images. You know what was done. No one is ordering us to act. But if you feel the same way I do, set course for Elisara sector. Full burn. No announcements. No chatter. Just go. Across dozens of ships, captains looked at their crews. Engineers pushed engines to maximum. Navigators plotted jumps. Weapons officers checked magazines and charge levels. No flags were raised. No battle cries sounded. Just quiet, determined motion. In the Vexari capital system, deep inside a massive hive world called Cathar Prime, the caste lords gathered in the grand chamber. The air smelled of wax and metal. Thousands of eyes watched from shadowed balconies. Human vessels are converging. Not one fleet, many small groups, coming from different directions. The lords clicked in confusion. One elder spoke. They cannot challenge us. Their ships are fewer, their weapons weaker. Another lord hissed. Yet they move without speaking. That is not normal for them. Kazathra's image appeared on a large crystal screen. He stood tall on his flagship. They posture, he declared. They hope to scare us into retreat. We will not. Prepare the cleansing fleet. We burn their colony to ash. Then we move to their core worlds if needed. The lords agreed. Orders went out. Ships gathered. Weapons powered up. Kazathra ended the call. He turned to Vrixta. Watch the humans closely. When they break, I want to see it. Vrixta bowed, but in his compound eyes, a small flicker of doubt appeared. Back on Elisara 4, night had fallen. Elena sat beside Mira's cot in the medical tent. Her burned arm was wrapped in fresh bandages. Elena held her small hand. Outside, a soft wind moved through the camp. People spoke in low voices. Somewhere, a mother sang a lullaby to her baby. Elena looked up through the tent flap. The alien ships still hung in the sky, like dark knives. She whispered to herself, so quiet no one else could hear. You hurt them. You killed them. Now wait. She closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them again, they were calm and cold. The galaxy waited. Humanity moved, and the silence grew deeper. It arrived at the same instant on every Vexari ship, every Hive World command center, every caste archive crystal, and every personal comm device carried by a member of the Dominion. No sender could be traced. No ship detected the origin. It simply appeared, as if the words had always been there, waiting to be heard. A calm male voice spoke in perfect High Vexari, the formal dialect used only by the highest castes. The tone carried no anger, no shout, just cold certainty. You injured human children. There will be no negotiation. There will be no prisoners. There will be no survivors. Say goodbye to your entire species. A single symbol followed the words, a simple circle with a crossbar through it. the old Terran glyph for no quarter. It glowed bright white on every screen, then faded slowly. The message ended. Silence followed. In the grand chamber on Kithar Prime, thousands of compound eyes stared at the now dark crystals. The elder caste lords stood frozen. Their mandibles clicked once, twice, then stopped. A young scout officer dropped his data slate. It clattered on the stone floor. No one moved to pick it up. One lord finally spoke. His voice trembled. "Who sent this?" No answer came. Another lord hissed, "It is a bluff. They cannot reach us here." But the doubt had already started. It spread like poison through the hive mind links that connected every Vexari. On the razor's edge, High Caste Overseer Kazathra stared at the same message on his personal display. His 8 legs shifted uneasily. Vrixta stood beside him, silent. "Replay it," Kazathra ordered. The voice played again, the same words, the same symbol. Kazathra's claws scraped the command throne. They threatened the entire Dominion. With what? Their pathetic fleet? Their primitive weapons? Vrixta spoke quietly. The voice used High Vexari without error. "That means they have studied us for a long time. Or they have spies who know our tongue perfectly." Kazathra turned sharply. "Spies? In our hives? Impossible." Vrixta did not argue, but his antennae twitched. Across the Dominion, panic began in small ways. On brood worlds, nurses gathered larvae closer. On shipyards, workers looked up at the sky more often. In caste archives, scholars pulled ancient records of human wars. Wars most Vexari had dismissed as myths told to scare young ones. Simulations ran in military command nodes. Every one showed the same result. If humans attacked with full commitment, losses would be catastrophic. Not just ships, entire worlds, entire castes. The projections glowed red on every screen. Yet pride held them back. The Dominion had never retreated, never surrendered. To do so now would shatter their belief in their own superiority. He stood tall on the bridge. "Assemble the cleansing fleet," he ordered. "Full strength. We will glass Elisara 4. Burn their fields, melt their towns, leave nothing alive. When their relief ships arrive, they will find only ash. Then we move to their nearest colony. We will teach them fear." Orders flew out. Ships gathered at rally points. Weapons charged. Engines hummed with power. On Elisara 4, the colony felt the change before they saw it. Elena Voss stood in the command tent. Raj rushed in with a fresh scan report. "Governor, their ships are moving. Not just orbiting. They're forming up. Energy signature spiking. They're preparing to fire again." Elena looked at the screen. Red icons clustered above the planet. She nodded slowly. "How long until they strike?" "Hours, maybe less," Raj said. "They're not hiding it." Elena turned to the small group around her. Doctors, farmers, teachers, soldiers. Their faces were tired, but steady. "Get everyone underground," she said. "Deep shelters. Children first. Take food, water, medicine, whatever we can carry. If they burn the surface, we survive below." People moved without argument. Mothers carried babies. Fathers helped grandparents. Children clung to hands. Mira walked beside Elena, her burned arms still bandaged. She looked up. "Are the monsters coming back?" Elena knelt. "They might try, but we're ready, and help is coming." Mira nodded, trusting. As night fell, the colony emptied above ground. Tents stood empty. Fields lay silent. Only the wind moved through the empty streets of Haven. In orbit, Kazathra watched from his flagship. Scans showed the humans hiding. He felt a small satisfaction. "They run like insects," he said. "Pathetic." He gave the final order. "Begin cleansing protocol. Full orbital bombardment. Leave no structure standing." The fleet answered as one. Lances powered up. Targeting systems locked. Then, everything changed. A new signal appeared on Vexari scanners, not from Elisara 4, but from deep space. Multiple points, dozens, then hundreds. Small ships emerged from jumps in every direction, not in neat formation like a normal fleet. Scattered, silent, no hails, no demands. They came from jump points the Vexari had never guarded, because no one had ever thought humans could reach them so fast. Stealth corvettes that had waited years in cold drift now lit their drives. Sleeper agents inside hive cities woke from long dormancy. Androids that looked Vexari on the outside opened hidden compartments and pulled out weapons. Kazathra stared at his screens. Icons multiplied too quickly to count. "What is this?" he demanded. Vrixta's voice was low. "They are already here." The first strike was not from orbit. It came from inside. On Cathar Prime, deep in the lower hives, a maintenance drone that had served for 20 years suddenly stopped. Its shell split open. A human-shaped combat frame stepped out. It moved fast. It planted charges at key support pillars. Moments later, sections of the megastructure collapsed. Billions of tons of rock and metal fell inward. Screams echoed through tunnels. Similar events happened on a dozen other worlds at once. Brood chambers flooded with nerve gas released from hidden canisters. Cast archive crystals shattered under precise explosives. Shipyards burned as internal sabotage tore reactors apart. Kazathra roared in fury. "Counter! Destroy them!" But the counter never came. Outside the capital system, human ships opened fire. Not with energy weapons at first. They used kinetics, simple metal rods accelerated to fractions of light speed. The rods punched through shields like paper. They hit shipyards, defense platforms, supply depots. Silent impacts, massive explosions. No battle cries filled the channels, no taunts, just destruction. Kazathra ordered his fleet to turn toward Elisara 4 anyway. Burn their world, make them pay. The cleansing lances fired. Bright beams stabbed down toward the planet. They never reached the surface. Human point defense platforms, small hidden satellites that had orbited unnoticed for years, activated. Counter missiles met the beams halfway. Explosions bloomed in the upper atmosphere like deadly flowers. The Vexari fleet faltered. Kazathra watched in disbelief as his ships began to die one by one. Not in glorious combat, just erased. A single human cruiser appeared on his main screen. It was close, too close. No markings, no name, just a dark shape against the stars. A voice came over the open channel, the same calm male voice from the message. "You were warned." The channel closed. Kazathra turned to Vrixta. "Prepare my escape pod. We retreat to the outer hives." Vrixta did not move. "There is no retreat left, Overseer." Kazathra stared at him. For the first time, fear entered his compound eyes. Below, on Elisara 4, Elena stood in the deep shelter. Lights flickered from emergency power. Children slept against their parents. Mira rested her head on Elena's lap. A soft rumble shook the ground. Dust fell from the ceiling. Elena looked up. "They're firing." A medic nearby checked a handheld scanner. Beams stopped halfway. Something intercepted them. Elena closed her eyes for a second. When she opened them, she spoke quietly. It started. Outside in the cold night air, the first streaks of human ships entering the system became visible. Bright lines against the black. The Vexari had thought humans emotional, weak, breakable. They had been wrong. The galaxy would soon learn the truth. When you hurt human children, there is no limit to what comes next. No grand speeches filled the void. No fleets lined up in shining rows. Humanity did not announce its arrival. It simply acted. The first blow landed inside the Vexari worlds themselves. On Cathar Prime, the heart of the Dominion, the central hive tower had stood for 8,000 years. It was a mountain of black crystal and living wax, home to billions. Deep in its lower levels, where the air smelled thick and sweet, a maintenance drone that had repaired conduits for decades suddenly stopped moving. Its shell cracked open like an egg. A human combat frame, sleek, silent, built to look like a Vexari worker from the outside, stepped free. It carried no flag, no name, just purpose. It moved fast through the tunnels. It placed small charges at key points, support beams, power relays, brood nest walls. When the charges went off, the explosions were quiet at first, sharp pops like breaking bones. Then the tower groaned. Floors buckled, sections collapsed inward. Dust clouds rose through vents. Screams echoed for kilometers in every direction. Larvae nurseries flooded with falling debris. Nurse casts tried to shield the young with their bodies. Most failed. The same thing happened on 12 other core worlds at the exact same moment. Sleeper agents, some androids, some gene-altered humans who had lived among the Vexari for generations, activated. They destroyed reactors. They poisoned water supplies. They opened airlocks and sealed habitats. Billions died in the first hour. Not soldiers, not warriors, civilians, larvae, the young, the old. The Dominion learned what it felt like to lose children. In orbit above those worlds, stealth corvettes that had drifted cold and dark for years lit their engines. They launched kinetic harpoons, long, dense rods of tungsten accelerated to a fraction of light speed. The rods hit without warning. No flash, no sound in vacuum. Just silent punches that tore through shields, armor, hulls. Shipyards shattered. Defense platforms spun apart in clouds of glowing gas. Supply depots bloomed into short-lived suns. Xathra watched it all from the bridge of the razor's edge. His compound eyes darted from screen to screen. Red icons died faster than his officers could report them. "Report," he shouted. Vrixta's voice was flat. Internal sabotage on 17 worlds. Kinetic strikes on 32 orbital facilities. Casualties uncountable. Xathra's mandibles clicked in rage. They were inside us. How? No one answered. There was no time. Human battle groups arrived next, not one neat fleet, waves from every direction, cruisers from the Orion Arm, destroyers from the Perseus colonies, even old patrol ships that had been listed as retired. They came silent. No hails, no challenges. They simply opened fire. Energy lances met Vexari beams in bright clashes. They used swarm tactics. Hundreds of small drones launched at once, overwhelming point defenses. They fired missiles tipped with exotic matter that ate through armor like acid. They rammed crippled enemy ships with automated suicide craft. One Vexari dreadnought tried to stand its ground. It fired everything it had. Human ships danced around it, too fast, too small. A single heavy cruiser slipped close. It launched boarding pods, black arrows that punched through the hull. Inside, human teams in sealed armor moved room by room. They carried no mercy, no prisoners. They killed caste lords, warriors, technicians. They left the ship dark and silent. Xathra ordered his fleet to regroup. Form defensive sphere. Protect the flagship. Too late. A human strike group appeared on his flank. 5 heavy cruisers. They ignored the escorts. They focused only on the razor's edge. Lances stabbed. Shields flared and died. Hull plates peeled away like burned skin. Boarding alarms screamed. Xathra backed away from the command throne. His legs trembled. Vrixta stood beside him. "They are coming." The bridge doors blew inward. Smoke poured in. Human figures stepped through, tall, armored, faces hidden behind visors. They moved with calm precision. They shot the guards. They shot the officers. They did not shout. They did not curse. They just ended resistance. Kazathra raised his claws. I am High Caste Overseer. You will— A single shot took one of his legs. He collapsed. The humans dragged him forward. They forced him to kneel before their leader. She was a woman, average height, short dark hair, no rank marks on her armor. Her face was calm, almost gentle. She carried a small datapad. She activated it. The screen showed footage from Elisara 4, the ruined medical hab, bleeding children, parents crying. Updated casualty list scrolled slowly. 41 dead now, hundreds injured. Names, ages, faces. She held the pad close to Kazathra's face. You chose this, she said quietly. Her voice carried no hate. Only fact. We only finished it. Kazathra stared at the images. For the first time in his long life, true fear entered his mind. The woman turned to her team. Take him to the hold. Record everything. No torture, just the truth. They dragged him away. The Razor's Edge drifted dead in space. Its lights went dark, one by one. Across the Dominion, the fall continued. World after world went silent. Brood planets became tombs. Hive cities burned from the inside out. Orbital rings shattered and fell in slow, burning arcs. The Vexari fleet, once feared across sectors, ceased to exist as a fighting force. In less than 5 standard days, the Dominion collapsed. There was no one left to surrender. Surviving Vexari fled in small ships to fringe systems. They hid on dead moons and cold asteroids. They whispered to each other in fear, but humanity did not stop. Private contractors, men and women who refused payment, hunted the remnants. They tracked signals. They followed trails of radiation. They found hidden nests and ended them, quietly, thoroughly. No government claimed the work. No records were kept. On Elisara 4, the surface had been spared the worst. The interception platforms had stopped most of the cleansing beams. Only a few craters scarred the fields. Smoke still rose from the ruined medical hab, but the deep shelters had held. Elena Voss walked out into the dawn light. The sky was clear. No Black Needle ships remained. Only human vessels, gray and scarred, hung in high orbit like quiet guardians. People emerged from the shelters. They blinked against the sun. Children ran forward, laughing for the first time in days. Mira tugged at Elena's hand. Are the monsters gone forever? Elena knelt. She smiled, small, tired, real. Yes, sweetheart, forever. Mira hugged her. Elena held her close. Above them, a single transmission went out across human channels. No words, just a symbol. The circle with the crossbar. No quarter. Then silence again. The galaxy watched. Species that had laughed at humans before now spoke in low voices. Traders rerouted paths away from old Vexari space. Diplomats sent careful messages. No one asked what had happened. They already knew. A new rule spread through translation matrices in every starport, every council hall, every alien mind that dealt with humans. Do not injure human young. It was not written in law books. It was carved in the ash of dead worlds. In the empty sectors where the Dominion once ruled, debris fields drifted for years. Twisted metal, frozen bodies, silent wrecks. No one salvaged them. No one dared. Humanity returned to normal life. Farmers replanted fields on Elisara 4. Children went back to school. Parents told bedtime stories again. But every adult carried the memory. They did not boast. They did not celebrate. They simply watched the stars with calm eyes. And if any fool species ever thought of testing that calm again, the answer waited. Patient, cold, and absolute. Touch human children, and humanity becomes the end of everything you know. Not out of cruelty. Where the Vexari Dominion once ruled with iron claws and crystal spires, Only silence remained. Entire sectors turned dark on galactic maps. Trade routes that once buzzed with insectoid freighters now carried warnings instead of cargo. Ships from other species steered wide around the dead zones. No one salvaged the wrecks. No one dared claim the empty worlds. The ash of billions floated in cold orbits, a quiet monument to what happens when pride meets unbreakable resolve. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy learned the full story in pieces. Traders whispered it in station bars. Diplomats shared it in closed rooms. Refugees, few and broken, told what little they knew before they vanished. The message was always the same. Humanity had not just won a battle, it had ended a species. Not with rage, not with joy, with calm, complete efficiency. On Elisara 4, life returned to the surface. The craters from stray beams were filled with fresh soil. Farmers replanted wheat and fruit trees. Children ran through the fields again, their laughter louder than before. The medical hab was rebuilt bigger and stronger, with thicker walls and extra shelters below ground. A small stone wall stood near the old site. Names of the dead were carved there. 41 children and 7 adults who never made it out of the rubble. People left flowers every day. No speeches, just quiet visits. Elena Voss still walked the town every morning. Her steps were slower now. Gray streaks had appeared in her brown hair. She carried the weight of what had happened, but she never complained. She smiled at children who waved. She helped carry crates when farmers needed hands. She listened when parents needed to talk about their fears or their relief. Mira followed her often. The girl's burned arm had healed. She held Elena's hand as they walked past the stone wall. "Do you think the monsters will ever come back?" Mira asked one sunny afternoon. Elena stopped. She looked down at the small face. "No," she said gently. "They're gone, all of them." Mira nodded. "Because we're strong?" Elena thought for a moment. "Because we protect what matters, and because the galaxy knows it now." Mira smiled. She ran ahead to join other children playing near the school. Elena watched her go. For the first time in weeks, her shoulders relaxed a little. Far beyond Elisara 4, the wider human sphere settled back into routine. On busy trade hubs, like New Shanghai, markets opened again. Ships unloaded food, tools, medicine. People laughed in cafes. Children went to parks. Life moved forward as if nothing had changed. But something had. In military academies, instructors added a new lesson to the curriculum. They showed the footage, not to celebrate, but to teach. "This is what happens when the line is crossed," they said. "Not because we want it, because we cannot allow anything else." Cadets listened in silence. Some looked pale, others nodded slowly. In quiet colony worlds, old veterans sat on porches and stared at the night sky. They did not speak of glory. They spoke of duty, of family, of promises made long ago to never let the young suffer again. No parades marched through human streets. No medals were handed out in public. The people who had acted, the captains, the boarding teams, the sleeper agents, returned to their lives without fanfare. Some went back to farms. Some took desk jobs. Some simply disappeared into the crowd. They did not talk about what they had done. They did not need to. The galaxy remembered in its own way. In alien council halls, translators added a new phrase to every language matrix: "Do not injure human young." It appeared in treaties, in warning beacons, in private conversations between species who had once ignored humanity. A tall, feathered diplomat from the Aelari Concord stood before his assembly one day. He spoke carefully. "We have seen what happens when the Deathworlders are provoked in this manner. They do not negotiate. They do not bargain. They erase. Let this be the final lesson. Some lines must never be crossed." The chamber voted without debate. A new protocol was added to all contact procedures. Absolute protection of juvenile humans in any joint operation or shared space. No exceptions. On fringe worlds where Vexari refugees had fled, the hunt continued quietly. Small teams, never in uniform, tracked signals through asteroid belts and dead moons. They found hidden nests. They ended them. No broadcasts, no reports, just silence after silence. One night on a cold rock called Vex 9, a lone survivor huddled in a cave. He was old, low caste, barely able to move. He heard footsteps outside. A human shadow appeared at the entrance. The figure did not speak. A soft click sounded. Then nothing. The cave went dark. Mira came running up and climbed onto the bench beside her. "Tell me a story," the girl said. Elena smiled. "What kind?" "About brave people." Elena looked up at the stars. "Once," she began, "there was a place far away. People lived there and grew food and raised families. Then strangers came and hurt the children. The strangers thought the people were weak. They thought no one would answer." Mira listened with wide eyes. "But the people answered," Elena continued, "not with words, with action. They protected their own, and the strangers learned they could never come back." Mira leaned against her. "Did the children grow up safe?" "Yes," Elena said softly. "They grew up very safe." Mira yawned. "Good." They sat in quiet for a while. The night wind carried the smell of growing crops. Across human space, the same quiet certainty settled in. No one bragged, no one gloated. They simply lived. They traded. They built. They laughed. They raised children. And every adult carried the same unspoken truth. If anyone ever touched human young again, the response would be the same. Fast, total, without hesitation. Not because humans were cruel, because they were parrots. Because some things were worth more than peace. Because love, when pushed far enough, becomes the end of worlds. The stars watched. The galaxy remembered. And humanity went on, ordinary on the surface, unbreakable underneath. Waiting, always watching, ready.